Welcome to Another Possible World, a Black Girl Watching podcast where we explore revolutionary new ways of creating art and spotlight the radical creatives behind it. I'm your host, the original Black Girl Watching, Brooke Obi, a film critic and filmmaker. And today's guest is Bea Wangondou, a Kenyan journalist and filmmaker who put her life on the line to make her debut film, Kikuyuland. Named after the Kenyan region where she is from, the film documents a land battle entangling the local government and a powerful multinational corporation in Kenya. In the film, covered wounds are revealed and family secrets are exposed. Bea and I met up at her first Sundance Film Festival where Kikuyuland premiered, and we discussed how colonialism shaped her filmmaking journey and her unconventional efforts to both pay the Kikuyu workers who endangered themselves to appear in her film, and how she worked to ensure their safety during and after the film was completed. Her story is urgent and lays bare why we must reclaim our narratives and tell our own stories. In our interview, Bea talks about the profound connection between identity and land for her people. This is also the focus of my debut documentary, Abanatu, which tells the Obi family history through our 120-year-old organic farm, Abanatu. If you want to learn from my experience of researching and documenting my family history so you can do the same for your own, sign up for my workshop, How to Tell Your Family History, on blackgirlwatching.com. This podcast is a paid subscriber exclusive, and we thank you for your support. Please enjoy episode 3 of Another Possible World with Bea Wangondou. We are back with another episode of Another Possible World from Black Girl Watching, and I am so pleased to welcome Bea Wangondou, an award-winning filmmaker and co-director of the searing documentary Kikuyuland, which is now playing at Sundance Film Festival. I've just had the privilege and honor of being at the premiere and seeing this wonderful documentary, and I'm so excited to have you here, Bea, to talk a little bit more about this experience. So how is your first Sundance going?
It's exciting. It's my first one, so it's all the feels. Very interesting, very out of this world, too big, too overwhelming, but beautifully flowing, I guess.
I mean, I'm so proud to just even have been able to see it and to see that this is a personal story. Kikuyuland is where you are from in Kenya. This is your family history. So you're not only telling your family history in this documentary, you're also telling the history of the land. You're also telling the history of the people and of the just horrific continuous colonialism that has been impacting not only Kikuyuland, not only Kenya, not only Africa, but all of us across the diaspora for centuries. So this is a very big undertaking that you've done with Kikuyuland, and I'm super proud of it and of you for telling this story. You say in the documentary that land is everything, land is identity. So I would love to start there. What has Kikuyuland meant to you as a person who has, your roots in this place?
Thank you. Good question. The idea of not owning land is almost like nakedness, the lack of self, meaning no identity. In our culture, nakedness is translated directly into a curse. You're cursed. If people are angry with you and they strip clothes off, they're literally saying to you that you are cursed. They're cursing you. And to not own land is to be naked, which means no identity. And this journey for me, outside of all the other layers, in fact, with all the other layers, it's really all about finding my own identity, reclaiming my story. Again, all the education that we have in Kenya and many countries that were colonized, all of it was set up by the colonialists. So in me and those of us, those that come on this journey with me to tell this story. We are all trying to find ourselves. We're all trying to make sure we have a voice. That our voices are heard, that we are elevating those that can't have their voices in the same way that I am. And you see that with the women in the film, the women that we talk to. It's about elevating who we are and refusing to stay down. We are aware that no one is coming to save us. We are aware that if you look at how the world is now, specifically with funds being cut off, we have to speak for ourselves, stand for ourselves, find our own solutions. And I think that's the trajectory many people should take if we are going to live in this world in a way that we have agency.
Absolutely. And so a lot of, what this documentary talks about is that lack of agency, the dispossession of land, the dispossession of identity by not only first the British colonizers that colonized Kenya, but even after colonialism in the way we understand it. And when Kenya stopped being a colony and gained independence, we still had these remnants of this colonial system in place, and corporations taking land from the people of Kikuyu and having these tea plantations, and you talk about the torture, the rape, the abuse of so many people who are, in Black American history would, equate it to sharecropping. They are stuck in these systems and on these plantations, picking this tea for everybody to enjoy in the UK and around the world. But are unable to get out of that situation, that you can't work hard enough to get off of the tea plantation. And so your film follows not only your story, but also a young, beautiful little boy named Stephen, who is a tea child. And then is Mr. Mungai, who is also fighting to get his land back, the land that was promised once, these colonial forces were leaving. There's supposed to be a return, a reparation of that land that has not happened. And your documentary is really holding them to account. And so I would love to talk, specifically for you. I don't want to spoil everything in the documentary because people really, really need to watch it. But I would love to just hear more from you about your journey and what you uncovered about your family history, considering, how this land has shaped you and your ideas of who you are in the world. And that actually even empowered you to feel like you could be an investigative journalist, even though that was not something that was, people were doing around you. That was just something that you've always wanted to do, as you share in the documentary.
Absolutely. That's a big question, covers so much, because we are talking about how I did this. And I think the number one thing there is to recognize my own privilege, the idea of having an education, having my own voice, and being able to be aware and enlightened about what I personally feel is a quest. Which then has gone on to become a quest for these other people whose voices had been suppressed, and walking that journey with them. And especially the women in the tea plantations, they've never ever been heard. They don't matter to those they work for, which also means that when you internalize being rejected and dismissed like that, you also dismiss yourself. And this is the psyche that we've been dealing with this story. You look at Mr. Mungai and him finding this as a door to reach somebody hear me, So I feel like I've got privilege then allowed me to begin to walk that journey with them. And because these are my people, I speak their language, I'm born in this area. I have my own journey, which is a whole oxymoron as far as what Mr. Mungai's investigation is. Open the door for me to say, all right, I cannot talk about other people except I first talk about myself.
So, at what point in this, in the making of this documentary, as you're following Mr. Mungai, you're following his fight. At what point do you start to question, your own family's role in what's been happening with, the dispossession of land, and how your family came to own so much land when there was so little ownership among other Kikuyu people that were around? So, like, where were you at in the stage of documentary making where you were like, I'm a part of this story too?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it actually started with me. It was me looking at my own journey, walking it and saying, and trying to get my people to talk. And before anybody says this or no, and me not finding the documentation, the paperwork that would prove whether or not my family was involved in the way that I thought it was, I decided, okay, let me see who else is going through this journey. And so, obviously, when I found Mr. Mungai, he was on the opposite side of me. And that conflict began to build what now you see today as Kikuyuland. And those two crashed at some point. And there's the internal conflict for me. And this is why I call it a story of identity, where I had to face both ways. So you discover this is where you come from. These are your people. And then these are the kind of people that you caused the pain that they are going through.
Yeah. That's really powerful, and it struck a chord with me as well. My family owns a 120-year-old organic farm in Roxborough, North Carolina, and my first film was on a documentary about our organic farm and how that land has basically shaped our family over the past 120 years. And not to the degree that you went through by any means, but it certainly ruffled feathers. It certainly upset people. And I had to make some choices about whether to tell the story, how to tell the story, so that the truth would be there for the younger generation, so we would have that history and that it wouldn't be hidden anymore. But also, managing that, my family members who maybe didn't want the story told are real people that I love and care about their feelings. And so I would love to hear from you what your process was like going through that yourself, and then, having this phone call from your uncle to say, the family's actually upset about this, and there will be some consequences for you if you continue to pursue this story.
I had the advantage of having my family, anybody that lived with us, every time we visited them, and we have a very, very big family. My grandfather had 5 wives, so you can imagine the number of cousins I have. There are many I don't know, but majority of the ones that I lived with knew me as a small girl, and they knew I was always asking questions about this and that, whatever. Anything that was told, anything, why? The kids that said, why, when, and then they just went on and on. Anything you taught me, there was a lateral question coming along. So that opened the door. So when I asked, he is like, all right, she is back with those questions. So I know those, except this one is very touchy because it has to do with land. The question was, why do we have so much land? Why did Aguka, we call him Guka, or is our grandfather, own so much land? Well, everybody is so poor. So yes, of course, it became a problem. And at some point, as I tried to reach out, I even went a little bit outside of the family, people that were working with my uncles, like, can you try and get him to talk to me? I got blocked on some family WhatsApp group. I mean, suddenly no one wanted to talk to me. I began to get word, please stop doing this research. What if the community comes up against our family? Then what? And why are we even reviving all these dead conversations? What is it for? Why can't we just let it die? And I'm like, no, I don't know. If I don't know where I'm going, I don't know where I'm coming from, how do I know where I'm going? So, and they're like, all of that doesn't matter. And this is like an African thing. I don't know about other continents, but I can speak for where I come from. We don't talk about, we bury things. We sweep things under the rug. We don't need to talk about that. So it was very difficult. It was very I say it in the film, I say scary to the thought that I could be blocked forever or not be accepted anymore, or not access at least where my grandmother's house was, at the very least. And this is what we went through. For many months, no one would talk to me, many months. Until one day I had to decide, all right, do you want to go and do a confrontation, or do you want to find a way to just create a path for conversation? So I decided to say, I come in peace, let's have a conversation. And because there's a pretentious cultural thing where, all right, yeah, we didn't have a problem with you. We just wanted to have a conversation, So yeah, you're welcome. And I took advantage of that.
So, and that's so interesting because we don't see that whole process in the documentary. So I was wondering, how was everything? Because, and I thought this was just such evidence of your level of care as well, in that when your uncle did make that initial phone call letting you know that everybody was upset, you took that off speakerphone and you left the room. And, so there was this element of care and protection for the family as well. And then we see at the end your uncle and a few of your other uncles, and you sitting down with them and talking about, like, we need to keep the family together. But I wasn't sure about the resolution there. So that is, so talk a little bit about your choice to kind of keep that conversation with everyone else kind of off camera and just kind of leaving it a little to the audience imagination as you focus on the other elements.
I honestly, I thank you for using the word care, because I didn't specifically want to do everything on camera for the documentary. I was living this life. This was a lived experience. It's painful to hear my uncle say all these things. It was difficult to imagine. So instinctually, I just went off speaker. And Andrew was with me. This is one of those days I knew he was going to call. So it's like, well, let's see what happens. It was just instinctual. I didn't think about, I forgot about the camera. I didn't forget. I just did what I would do if something was sensitive. If there was a sensitive conversation, I'd get myself out of that situation. So yeah, and I came back and I told Andrew, my DP, who's also my co-director, what went on. So yeah, I was living it. I was in the moment. And that's when I say, this film was about finding my identity. It's just like watching myself and saying, all right, I actually know what I'm doing. Yeah, I actually care about people. I care about our story. I care about what, I care about what's important.